Well, I've been playing with some of the other parts that I bought for the camera system on the Anaconda. Kind of trying to wrap all this. Somebody told me how to pronounce it, but I forgot what they typed. This was this camera connector right here. This box, it's not tied down or anything yet. You can see a cable coming out the back of it going into the air unit, which is this black box right here. The air unit for the system, and then the gimbal down on the front, here in the front underneath. And a secondary camera came with the air unit when that system came, because it was separate from the gimbal. And it had this camera in it. It's just a little fixed camera, got its own card slot for recording, taking pictures. It's only 1080, it's not 4K like the gimbal. So one of the other parts that came in 2 or 3 weeks ago, probably while I was at the beach, was this camera adapter right here that allows 2 cameras to go in to the front of it, and a cable come out to the back to go to the air unit. That's it. So I got one camera in one connector, another camera in another connector. That's all there is to this box. There's no buttons, no little flashy lights, no nothing. It's basically an Ethernet hub for 2 devices. And I'll show you over on the computer what that lets me do. Whoops, real quick, I guess I have to show you, I guess it gets a little closer on that box. Show that just a little better. Again, there's nothing on any side except what I've shown you. Screw holes in the bottom, and oops, that's it. That can be mounted right there, just underneath that battery tray, right in front of the air unit. And right now the fixed camera is just sitting on top of the hatch. Now we can go to the computer. And what we find on the computer now is that we have a 2-camera system. I can see to the rear if I want to. I can set that camera up on the wing and look at it from the side, the whole airplane. Possibilities. I forget how much this little adapter cost, and you can swap these photographs between each other. Oops, that makes it bigger. This swaps it. There's the picture of the ceiling right above the fixed camera that's just laying on top of the fuselage hatch. There that is. The gimbal still moves, still zooms. This is in the, oops, take that back out to 0. Yeah, it brings it back to center, right and left, but it doesn't do any more. You can minimize this picture camera, swap it for the other one. Well, that one's acting up, isn't it? Or the app is. And swap it back. Looks like the camera's acting up. So this is the, what do we call it? SIYIFPV app that is on their site. Well, that, wonder what's going on with that camera. Wonder if it could be overheating. I've got a fan on the gimbal just for kicks and grins. There, it's back, so we'll look into that later. But the problem here that I've found, and I'm not really trying to say a lot of problems against this camera or company, is that with Q ground control app that they have right now, I've got the picture of the ceiling, not the gimbal. Can't move this. Can turn movies on and off. Don't see that I can take a snapshot with this. Maybe it's because there's not an SD card in it. But to change the picture video on Q ground control, you have to go into the application settings where you've got the IP address for each individual camera. I'm going to change this from 25 to 26. Go back. And we're back to doing whatever we want to with the gimbal camera. Gimbal it around. Yikes, stay off of me. Zoom it in. Take a snapshot, video. Where was it on this? Where you bring it back to center. Hey, good. Wonder if that does any of the zoom on this program. Nope. It'll bring it back to center, but it will not change the zoom. Interesting. So, the CE FPV app, if you run it along with this Q ground control, can't run them both at the same time. You'd have to turn off the system inside Q ground control. Take that IP address completely out. I'll get back to that in a second, because you can't physically, see, won't let me move around the gimbal in this. You can't have two programs fighting over control at the same time. But this CE FPV application does do two cameras at the same time and does all sorts of things with them. When this one's swapped up, yeah, you can see there's looks like the record and some other controls don't quite work correctly here. Anyway, so this sort of gives me a solution. Again, I'll go back right here. This is Q ground control, where I can still, this one's got control of the zoom and the pan right now, whereas I don't. If you come into your application settings, this is how you're getting access to that unit completely. The RTSP, Universal Relocating, and it's an RTSP address //192.168. They're using 144, and they're using several IP addresses on that 144. For this particular gimbal, I've got it set to 2.6 right now, and the other camera's set to 2.5. And then it has to be followed by these values. It's got a 1.7 aspect ratio, 7777, whatever you want to carry that out to. File format MKV, video decode priority default. This is all you have to do to get that gimbal working in Q ground control. So what I would personally do if I were going to use the CE, whoops, let's shut that one down. If I were going to use the CE FPV app, I wouldn't start it without, see, again, I don't have control. I can't stop recordings. That's probably why these are that way, because Q ground control has access to it. And if I wanted to fix that, again, I would just come in here and get rid of this information, this one line right here. Or you can probably pull the source back to video stream disabled. That disables everything. There's no other setup for this system as far as the camera working and panning it back and forth and stuff with Q ground control. Now I'm just going to shut Q ground control down and start my CE app again. Still got our strange buttons here for record and stuff, but we do have access to the gimbal again. That's what we needed most. this app works best, and running it at the same time you run Q Ground Control, or I'd be running Mission Planner with it. I can just go down on that taskbar and flip back and forth between the Mission Planner app and the camera app. So now I have a way to put the secondary camera facing rearward from the side, wherever I decide to put it, which is going to be kind of tough. But I'll talk about why that is when I do find a place to put it. But that's just a little more today of little things I had bought for that camera system. You know, I've complained about the degrees of tilt that it will roll and stuff like that. But if it becomes an overall system that will do the video of the gimbal, the video of the secondary camera, telemetry back to my ground station, such that I can take that telemetry out to the antenna tracker, MSD, I forget what it was, the antenna tracker, and also be in contact with it for control. Perhaps use a joystick or something on my ground control station to fly it through this one system. I don't even need the Dragon Link receiver in the airplane to control its flight. Then this system becomes a little more worthy of its cost to me. But anyway, like I say, I've been having some problems, not health problems, past few days. I needed to do something to get my mind off of it and do a little work and stuff, so I threw the plane back up on the bench and hooked up the dual camera connector to get it going, and thought I'd just give you a little update of what I was doing there. So there you go. I just mounted that little fixed camera underneath the rear landing gear facing rearward with a piece of double-sided tape. That'll work, won't it? Actually, I might be able to build some kind of 3D printed mount for it there. Don't know. I don't want to take the screws back out of the landing gear. But as you can see here, there's only 2 mounting holes on the back of this camera. So I'd have to make some kind of 3D printed bracket that goes up and take the screws back out of the landing gear, and it's hard to reach down through there with all that wiring that's in the fuselage now to get to the tops of those screws. I might be able to go in from the wing side, but it's not got mounting holes in the sides of it like most cameras do that would make this whole thing a lot more easier perhaps. But overall, I do have a system now where I could be looking out the back through this camera, and then when I wanted to switch back over to the gimbaled camera, it does let me gimbal it around and be satisfied with that. So I have a way of seeing backwards, which is, as long as I did have 2 cameras, Ethernet cameras I guess they are, for this system, use them, be able to see to the rear. I will figure a place to put that other camera. I don't know where I'll put it right now. Can't double-side tape it to a metal landing gear bracket. Alright, again, just some little updates, kind of keep busy work for me while I'm working through some problems. Alright guys, thank you so much.